iOS 18.1 is here, and this is a huge update that includes more than 55 new features and changes, including our first taste of Apple Intelligence. So in this video, we're going to cover everything new, along with the performance, the battery life, and if you should update or not. Okay, so first off, iOS 18.1 introduces phone call recording. This is a long-awaited feature on the iPhone, and you can see that now when you make a phone call, you will see this new icon up in the top left-hand corner, and when you tap on that, you will get a prompt that says call recording, and once you tap on continue, it says this call will be recorded, and there will be an audio prompt on both ends telling the other person on the other line that you are going to be recording this phone call.
This call will be recorded.
And this will record both sides of the phone, so it will record what you say and what the other person says. And in the Notes application, you'll notice that we have a new call recordings section. And this is where all of your phone call recordings will be saved. They will be saved in this section. And you're also able to keep notes, with that phone call recording. So if you want to add on some additional notes to that phone call, of course, you will have the transcript in there as well once you stop recording. But if you want to add notes while you're on the phone call, you can do that in here as well, while simultaneously being on that call. Now you can end it as well before ending the entire call. You don't have to end the entire call. You can just end the recording, and then you get a pop-up that says view saved call, and now it will show that transcript, and of course you will be able to see everything that was said on both ends of the phone. So this is the phone call transcription. You can play it, you can fast forward, you can rewind, and you could also have a summary if you're on an Apple Intelligence compatible device. So the summary is exclusive to Apple Intelligence devices, but the transcripts and the overall call recording is not exclusive to Apple Intelligence devices. In the Control Center, we now have dedicated connectivity toggles. So before on iOS 18, we only had the connectivity platter right here in the Control Center, and you would have to haptic press to be able to access your AirDrop and some of your other settings. But now we have individual toggles for those connectivity settings. And if you go to add a control and then scroll down to connectivity, you can see all of them right there. And I find this especially convenient for AirDrop because now you can just haptic press on AirDrop and change your settings right there on the fly. And same for Bluetooth, you can quickly connect to another Bluetooth device right here in the Control Center. And then also new in the Control Center, we have new toggles for measure and for level. And if you go into your settings and go to Control Center, we now have a new Reset Control Center button that will reset your Control Center layout to the factory default. For the iPhone 16 series, we have a new camera control toggle, so we now have a way to get to the selfie camera with iOS 18.1 if you go into the cameras section for your camera control. And then also if you go over to tone right here, you'll notice that the tone now shows -100 all the way up to 100. Before, it just showed a -1 to 1. And for the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max, you can now shoot spatial photos and spatial videos in the new spatial camera mode. In the Messages application and for the keyboard, we have multiple changes. So first off, if you go to the emoji keyboard, you'll notice that the emojis themselves are now much larger than they were before on iOS 18. Also, before we had little categories up here that said like smileys and people, animals and nature, food and drink, but now we do not have those any longer since the emojis are larger. We don't have the text up there indicating the category. And then if you look closely at the bottom, you'll see some changes to the default little emoji at the bottom to signify the category you're about to go into. So for the animals and nature, the dog has a new look. Also, we no longer have a burger and fries. It's now an apple. The car glyph icon is different. The light bulb is different. The heart is different. And also the flag is different. Pretty much all of these have changed here. Also, before when you tapped on the frequently used emojis button right here, so if you tap right there, it would just open up your stickers menu. But now that is no longer the case. If you tap on that, it does not do anything. And that's because we now have a sticker section inside of our emoji keyboard now. So it's its own dedicated button down there. Before it was not, it was just when you tapped on frequently used. And also to the left of that, we have Memoji. So you can see your Memoji stickers and your Animoji stickers down here as well. Also, the sticker glyph icon is slightly different. So it's a little bit thicker on the outline. And we also have a new add sticker button up here to the right of the search field for searching for your emoji. Now here's a pretty big change if you do not have an Apple Intelligence device. We now have a notification counter for your notifications. So if you get multiple notifications from the same application, before in iOS 18, it would just show all of them stacked on top of each other. You wouldn't really know how many were there. You would just know that there were multiple. But now with iOS 18.1, you get a counter right here that shows how many notifications have come in for that specific application. Now we also have some new shortcut actions, and I don't normally mention these so early on in a video because they're not usually super popular amongst people, but I think that these new ones in iOS 18.1 are going to be very useful for a lot of people. So first off, if you ever wanted to access the Spotlight search from within an application, that was never possible before. You couldn't do it unless you had some type of hack thrown together like backtap or something like that. But now with the power of the action button and this new toggle right here, this new action for search right here, which is Spotlight search, we can press and hold on the action button and take a look at that. I now have the Spotlight search while in an application. So that's nice. We also have a new action for opening a specific view inside of the health application, and also a new action for showing the control center or toggling the control center. And again, these are awesome if you want to add these as a shortcut either inside of your control center, maybe for Spotlight search, or what I think is most useful is if you add these to your action button right here as a shortcut. In the passwords application, if you go into a specific password and look up in the top right, you'll notice that we now have an AirDrop icon instead of a share icon. In the calculator application, before when you accessed the history, it would pop over from the left, but now in iOS 18.1, it pops up from the bottom. Now we also have a pretty massive change to the AirPods Pro 2nd generation with iOS 18.1, and of course if your AirPods Pro 2 are on the latest firmware update. So when you go into these settings, you'll see a brand new section here for hearing health. So first off, we have hearing protection. So right now, this is only available in the US and Canada, but it will be rolling out to other countries later. And you can see that we have environmental noise loud sound reduction. So it can actively reduce your exposure to loud environmental sounds and transparency and adaptive modes. And notice how the second sentence says loud sound reduction is not active in off mode. Now that's also a new feature here in iOS 18.1, because if we go back into our settings and then go down, you'll notice a brand new toggle here for off listening mode. So if you go into the control center and haptic press on your volume right here and then go into your noise control, we now have an off toggle. So before there was just no off right there. It was either transparency, adaptive, or noise cancellation. You had no choice to turn any of these off, but now you can do so. But by far the biggest feature here is going to be the hearing aid feature. So this is right here under hearing assistance. And if you go into this, it will walk you through how it works. And this is amazing because this is FDA approved, and it's the first ever authorization of over-the-counter hearing aid software by the FDA. So this is pretty groundbreaking stuff from Apple. And if you go into here, it says hearing assistance. AirPods Pro can use the results of a hearing test to make adjustments that support your hearing. And that's great. That's nothing really too groundbreaking, but the fact that you can take a hearing test on your iPhone with your AirPods in your ear is pretty amazing. And I've seen people who compare an audiogram, like a professional audiogram, to the iPhone and the AirPods Pro hearing test, and they are pretty similar. This would not get FDA approval if it was not very accurate. So once you're here, you can see that it will work for hearing aid and also for media assist. So this is not only for just talking to people in the real world, it does also work to make adjustments for improving the clarity of music, videos, and calls. And if you go ahead to take a hearing test, it will tell you how this is going to work. And it mentions hearing loss, and it's common and it can get worse over time. And then all you need to do is tap once you hear a noise. So it will play different frequencies and different tones of noise in both your left ear and your right ear. And all you need to do is tap on the screen when you hear that tone. And at the end, it will tell you if you have hearing loss or not. So you can see here that once my test was done, these were my results. And it said that I had little to no hearing loss, which is great. I was kind of worried, honestly, when I went in to do this test. And then once you do your test and go into your health application, go to browse and then into hearing. And down here, you'll see we have hearing test results. So if it doesn't show up right there, you can scroll down a little bit and it might show it down here. But once you go into this, this will show you more details about your, hearing test results over time. And of course, you can add an external hearing test result like an audiogram or something else. If you go right here, you can scan that with a camera or you can add it manually. So this feature has the potential to be a massive game changer for those with hearing loss, especially given the fact that hearing aids are very expensive. And these AirPods Pro, you can have them for $200 or less. So this is an awesome feature. Of course, the battery life is not going to last you all day. It's not going to last as long as regular hearing aids, but that is going to be, one of the sacrifices you need to make when you're doing it, via your AirPods Pro 2. But nonetheless, pretty awesome feature. There's also a slight change to the clock widget. So if you add the clock widget right here and you change your icons to be tinted, you'll notice that we have a more translucent look for that clock widget. It's a little bit more transparent than it was beforehand. If you head into your settings and go to the display and brightness section, you'll notice that the wallpapers right here for light and dark have now been updated to the iOS 18 wallpaper. Also in our settings, if you go up to your iCloud up top and then into the sign in and security section, first off, you'll notice that under the email and phone numbers section, we now have individual arrows, which means that we can go into each individual email or phone number, and we don't have the edit anymore up in the top right hand corner. Also down beneath, we now have add email or phone number, so it's easier to add one right here. And the reason that you're able to go into each of those emails and phone numbers is because we have a new toggle in there for primary email. So you can now set a email or phone number as primary right here. And we also have an easy button to remove from account. Beneath that, we have a new security header right there. So that's for change password and two-factor authentication. Also, it no longer says on when you have two-factor authentication turned on. It's just a menu to go into. And then beneath that, we also have a new header text here for recovery methods. And then we have recovery contacts and recovery key together. Before, they were separate with two separate descriptions. And then also down there, you'll notice that we had an advanced header before, but that is now gone. And also automatic verification no longer has a toggle, it's its own menu. And when you go into there, you have a new glyph up top and a new way to enable or disable automatic verification for bypassing CAPTCHAs. In the contacts application, we now have a new game center section underneath of each contact, and you can now send a friend invite directly from the contacts application. And you could also see friend suggestions, and if you tap on that, you can see their recent activity within Game Center. Now, iOS 18.1 will also allow developers to access the iPhone's NFC chip for the first time. So this will allow for contactless features inside of their applications. So this includes things like car and hotel keys, in-store payments, event tickets, and more. We now have TikTok integration for Apple Music. So if you go into an Apple Music song and scroll over to TikTok and you go to share this, you will now have the option to share it as either a video, a photo, or a message. And this update does also add RCS for additional carriers that did not get it with iOS 18.0. And we also have business messages over RCS. So this was available before in iMessage, but now it's available for RCS. There's a new lock screen toggle. So if you go to the plus down here, or if you go to replace one of your controls, we have a new one for quick notes. So if you search for note, you will see that we have a new option for quick notes, and this allows you to quickly jot down a note from your lock screen. The iPhone mirroring feature, which is one of the best features in macOS Sequoia, has been improved with 15.1 and iOS 18.1 because you can now drag and drop files between your iPhone and your Mac. So this can work great for transferring photos over, or if you want to transfer files into the Files app on your iPhone and Finder on your Mac, you can do that. Okay, so now let's talk about the Apple Intelligence features. Now, I did make a full separate video on Apple Intelligence if you want to see even more details on Apple Intelligence along with some tips and tricks, but in this video we're going to cover everything that's new in iOS 18.1 in terms of Apple Intelligence, and that starts right inside of the settings because we now have Apple Intelligence and Siri as a section in here. And if you go into that, you'll notice that you have a toggle, a kill switch here for turning on Apple Intelligence. Now, at first you will have to join a waitlist, but that waitlist does not take very long. You should be in no time. And once you activate Apple Intelligence, you might not see too much that's changed. And that's because a lot of these Apple Intelligence features in iOS 18.1 are going to take place inside of other applications. And we'll get to those in a moment, but let's start with Siri because we do have a brand new Siri UI. As you can see, it takes over the entire screen and it looks absolutely amazing. The animation, we also have a brand new sound. So the new UI is glorious, and you will notice that it does, kind of move around as you are talking. It's picking up what you are saying right here. And if you ever want to cancel and get out of that, you just press on the side button again. And of course, you just press and hold again to activate it. Now, there is also another way to activate Siri with iOS 18.1, and this is for type to Siri. So you can double tap down here at the bottom, and it will pull up a brand new menu down here where it says Ask Siri. And when you start typing, you'll notice that you get suggestions in real time. So once you start typing, and it will change based on what you're typing right here, and you can say what time is the sunset, for example, and it will give you that answer right there. Now, Siri has been enhanced with iOS 18.1, but it's not going to be that much smarter than iOS 18.0. We still do not have the full Siri 2.0 just yet. That's not coming until next year, but Siri is still smarter than what we saw on iOS 18.0 and previous versions. And the reason it's smarter is because Siri can now maintain context between requests more frequently. Also, if you misspeak or change what you're saying mid-sentence, Siri will follow along. So check this out. What's the temperature? I mean, how long does it take to get to Chicago? You can see that it did not pick it up on iOS 18.0, but it did pick it up on iOS 18.1. So it will now understand if you change what you're saying mid-sentence or if you just misspeak and want to change it. And also, Siri just sounds a lot more natural, expressive, and clear.
Suddenly, an old lady burst from the door. "Oh no, a wicked witch," Hansel cried out. "She's going to eat us," sobbed Gretel. Before long, Anansi was tied to 8 cook pots and feeling very pleased with himself. It's not like all 8 will be ready at the same. And that's when Anansi felt tugging at all 8 legs.
Siri also now has Apple's product knowledge and support base for answering device-specific questions. So if I ask, how do I shut down my iPhone? You can see that before it would just give me web results, but now with iOS 18.1, because it has the iPhone user guide built in, it will give me exact details on how to perform whatever I'm asking. Okay, so next up is writing tools. So this is going to be one of the most useful Apple Intelligence features on iOS 18.1. And this feature works in Notes, Mail, Messages, and any other application where you type. So if you select some text right here, you'll see that in the pop-up menu right here, we have Writing Tools. But if you're in Notes, you'll see that we have an Apple Intelligence icon in the toolbar right there. And if you tap on that, that's what pulls up the Writing Tools menu. And from here, we have multiple options. So first off, we have Proofread, and this does exactly what you would think it does. It checks for spelling and grammatical errors. So I just made some errors right there. Let's go ahead and test that out. So we'll do Proofread, and you can see it will give us a little animation there, and it shows we have 2 changes down here. So if we go ahead and swipe up, or if we go down, you can see what these are. So they will be underlined, and it says and it tells you that the issue was word usage, and it tells you exactly why right there, and you can revert back to the original, or you can, use original by doing that as well. Now, if we go to the second one, it tells you that the issue here was the phrase usage. And Grammarly might be better, but I don't know. I mean, having this built in to your iPhone is going to make, checking your grammar so much easier, and it's just going to reduce the amount of time that you have to take to open up another application. So this is going to be very useful for a lot of people. So let's go into Messages to talk about the other writing tools here. So once you select some text, you can see that you automatically get the prompt down here to proofread, rewrite, and you do also have the Apple Intelligence icon right there, which you can tap on that, and it will pull up that same menu. And of course, you could also just tap and go to writing tools that way as well. So for this, for example, maybe I'm mad at somebody and I don't want it to come across, like I'm really mad. I am really mad, but this is going to help me not look so bad the next day. So if I want to rewrite this message right here where I was angry and I maybe want to rewrite this in a more friendly tone, I can go ahead and do that. So I'm going to select this and I'm going to select friendly and take a look at what it does. So the original was, "Dude, you're a loser. Pay me back my $500 you owe me, or I'm going to go over there and throw sand on your door." And now, thanks to Apple Intelligence, that text is, "Hey there, I noticed you owe me $500. Would you mind paying it back? If not, I might have to take some action to ensure you understand the importance of this matter." So yes, Apple Intelligence can save you from saying what you really want to say. So if you don't like that, of course, again, you can go ahead and rewrite that. Or if you maybe want to write it in a different way. So if you go back into here and you want to write this more professionally, you can select professional and you can see how this works when you write it professionally. So it starts off with hello and a space, and you can kind of see what it wrote there. And then for the last two, I want to show you this inside of the notes application. So we have this long string of text right here, these two paragraphs, and maybe I just want to get a summary of these two paragraphs. I can go ahead and select summary, and it will give me a summary of that right here. So it tells me in literally just one sentence. Now, if we go back into here, you can see that we have other things as well, like key points. So if I just want to have the key points, maybe a little bit longer than the summary, you can see it will break it down in bullet points right here. And then we also have list. So if you want to create a list based off of the text, you can see it will do that here as well. And this does also include those bullet points for easier reading in a list view. And then the last one we have over here is table. So this isn't going to work great for this paragraph, but this will work great if you had numbers or something a little bit more streamlined. But you can see it will create a table based off of the text that you select. And again, writing tools are available throughout iOS as long as you can type somewhere. Now, this next Apple Intelligence feature might seem like a small deal on the surface, but trust me, once you start seeing this every single day, you're going to realize how useful it is. And this is notification summaries. So this is my lock screen, and you can see that all of my notifications are summarized automatically when they come to my device. And this is especially useful if you get multiple notifications from the same person via text or just from different applications. It will show you a quick summary and it will update in real time once more notifications come in. And you can see here's another example of what that looks like for messages. Here's what that looks like for mail. And if you go into your settings and go to notifications, you can go into summarize previews right here and make sure this is turned on, because I think everybody is going to love this feature. But if you do want to turn it off for some reason for any application, you do have the flexibility to do so right here. Now, we also have some pretty nice changes to the mail application. So first off, when you open up mail, you'll notice that we also have those summaries right here inside of the main mail page. So not just as a notification, but also in the actual mail application, all of these emails have been summarized right here, which is great, especially if you subscribe to a lot of newsletters that might have clickbait. This will kind of bypass that clickbait and tell you what's actually inside the body of that email. And then there's also a priority section at the top of Mail Now, which will show you time-sensitive messages that have not been opened yet. So they will show up right here, and they will be accompanied with a nice animation when you go into the mail application. And these are going to be great for making sure that you don't miss out on important emails. And if you go into an email message, you'll see that up top we now have a summarize button. And if you tap on summarize, it will summarize that entire email for you right here. You could also copy this as well if you want to copy it or use writing tools on that summary. But my favorite Apple Intelligence feature inside of the mail application has to be Smart Reply. So take a look at this. I received an email that asked if I wanted a red or a carbon fiber iPhone 16 case, and also if I wanted it to be shipped out now. And now if I go to reply, you can see that I will get this little nice animation down here in the predictive text that says red case or wait for shipping. Now check this out. If I go to wait for shipping, notice how it doesn't answer the question of the red or carbon fiber case, but if I just go to wait for shipping, Apple Intelligence understands that I did not answer the other question in the email, so it prompts me to say which case do you want. And you have a little drop down here to answer questions that were in the original email. So either don't answer, I could choose the red case, the carbon fiber case, or other. So let's go ahead and select the carbon fiber case, and it will rewrite that. And you can see it says, please ship the carbon fiber case. And you could also change it right there if you want to as well. If I want to change it back to red, I can do that very easily. And we also have smart replies inside of the messages application. So similar to what we just saw with mail, you can now see smart replies in the predictive text field based on what the previous message said. So for example, if I want to reply with thanks for following up, it will show that right there, and I can add on to that. And you'll also see these summaries of the messages on the main messages page. So this is not just for notifications, you'll see this inline as well, just like with the Mail app. In Safari, if you go to the reader view, you'll notice that we have a new summarize option up top, which will allow you to summarize the article very easily. And then we have some really nice Apple Intelligence changes inside of the Photos application. So first off, we have natural language search. So search is going to be infinitely better inside of the Photos application when you're searching for what you're looking for. So you can now describe what you're looking for. So if I type in cat sitting in a chair, I can do that. So cat sitting, boom, cat sitting in a chair, and it's going to show me every single time my cat was sitting in a chair. So these top results are very accurate, and that was just using, natural language. Or if I type in orange Lambo, for example, not even the full description, it will show me orange Lamborghinis right here. How cool is that? And you'll also notice that you do get these little smart suggestions when you start typing in. So once you start typing, it will continue to give you these suggestions right here. And of course, the prompts that you see are also very helpful. And you can even see your recent searches up top as well, which will show you the specific things that you searched for, along with how many photos were found with that search. And search can also find specific moments in video clips. So if I go back to the orange Lambo example right here, you can see that we have a 44-second video clip, and a tiny little blip of the orange Lambo is right there. And if we tap on that, it will take us to, that video where it found that orange Lambo. But here's where things get really cool. So if you go ahead and re-enable memories, if you had that disabled, we're going to go ahead and re-enable that and go down to our memories. Right here is something very cool called create a memory movie with just a description. So let's go ahead and create one. So let's try this out. I put in cute moments with Iago, which is my cat, over the years, but not when he's sleeping. Heartfelt music. So let's go ahead and create that. And man, that animation is phenomenal. So here you go. You can see my cat through the years, and it says perfect companionship, and let's see what the music it chose was. So Wind Beneath My Wings, and of course you can change this as well. There are different memory mixes with different songs, so you can choose the exact song that you would like to, and of course you can change the look of it and everything as well. But this does a phenomenal job. It's very impressive how good this feature is. Okay, so now let's talk about a feature called Cleanup, and I think this is going to be a feature that a lot of people are going to love, because this allows you to remove unwanted objects or people from your photos. And this can be very handy if you don't have the know-how or the time to use Photoshop. So to do this, just go to your photo, tap on your settings down here, and you'll notice that we have a brand new option at the bottom called Cleanup. And once you select that, it will automatically detect some people that are in the background. And of course, this is using Apple Intelligence to just detect what is in the background. But the key thing to know here is that you need to zoom in on this. So don't just select, what it says by default. You might want to select more than what it's saying. So for example, if I just tap on this person like it's suggesting, it will go ahead and remove that person from the background of my photo. And take a look at that. It does do a pretty good job. You can see that the feet are remaining, and it doesn't look the best over there, but keep in mind, this is not a generative fill. This is only removing the object. It's not generating a new image to go behind the object that you erase. But for example, if I want to remove these shoes, I could just go ahead and scribble over it just like this, and it will remove those shoes. You can see it will select that object and remove it. Same with this shoe right here. So I found that this feature works really great for removing smaller objects in the background and objects that are just really well defined and not directly behind you. Like if something is touching my shirt, for example, like directly behind me, you will see some artifacts around it because it's not going to be perfectly picking up on that object and removing it and generating something in place of it. And here's an Easter egg with the cleanup feature. So if you select somebody's face, it will automatically blur their face for you. So if I have a face right here, as long as it's not obstructed by sunglasses or something like that, we can go ahead and circle my face, and check this out. It will automatically blur it, and it says safety filter applied. Now earlier I mentioned how you can get summaries from a phone call transcription, but this also applies to audio notes in the Notes application. So if you record an audio note, you can go into that and you can see that you can summarize it up top. And the App Store also now supports natural language, just like we can do in the Photos application. You can do that in the App Store to find an app that you want to find. And also you have descriptive app tags that make it easier to find exactly what you're looking for. So for example, I just typed in car game racing fast, and you can see that the top 2 results are the exact games that I was looking for. Whereas on iOS 18.0, I typed in the exact same thing, and the 2 apps I was looking for are not even close. They're not even, as I'm scrolling down, I still have not found either one of the 2 apps that I was looking for. So you can see that natural language really does work well here with this new feature. And you can see it does also show vehicle game, drag racing, and sports cars. Those are the tags that I was referencing earlier that Apple mentioned. And then if you go into your settings and go to privacy and security, and then go down to the bottom under transparency logs, we have a new section for Apple Intelligence reports. If you go into there and scan your Face ID, you can see the report duration, and you can export that activity. And that lets you export your Apple Intelligence data as part of Apple's promise for transparency around Apple Intelligence. And again, I did make a full video on Apple Intelligence and how to get that set up right. So if you want to watch that video, it will be linked up in the cards and down in the description below. But let's move on to the bug fixes here in iOS 18.1, because we have some pretty big ones. So first off, this update fixes an issue where iPhone 16 and 16 Pro models may unexpectedly restart. We also have a fix for an issue inside of the podcast application where unplayed episodes are marked as played. There was also a bug on all iPhones where recording in 4K 60 when the device was warm, you could experience stutter when scrubbing through the video playback in the Photos application. That has been fixed here. And there was also a fix for an issue where digital car keys may not unlock or start a vehicle with passive entry after restoring from a backup or transferring directly from another iPhone. Now, as far as the performance and the battery life goes on iOS 18.1, performance for me has been better than iOS 18.0. Despite all the new features that we got with Apple Intelligence, I've noticed that performance has been better for me. I did also score slightly higher in my Geekbench scores as well. So I scored a 3478 on the single core and an 8584 on the multi-core. Now, as far as battery life goes, it's hard to say if battery life is any better than iOS 18.0. For me, it has been a little bit better on iOS 18.1, but it's not going to be a substantial difference unless you had battery drain beforehand. So if you were on iOS 18.0.1 and you were suffering from battery drain issues, you could very well see a fix here with iOS 18.1. And then finally, let's answer the question of should you update to iOS 18.1 or not? And I would say that if you have an iPhone 15 Pro, 15 Pro Max, or an iPhone 16, this is a no-brainer update. This is Apple Intelligence we're talking about here. This is what iPhone 16 users were promised. So if you have an iPhone 16, you need to go ahead and update to iOS 18.1 ASAP to get what you were promised. But even if you're not on an Apple Intelligence compatible device, it is still worth updating for the phone call recording, for the control center changes, for the notification changes, the bug fixes, the security patches, and maybe even better battery life if you had issues on 18.0 or 18.0.1. Now keep in mind, we are going to see iOS 18.2 at some point in December with even more Apple Intelligence features. So I think that most people should go ahead and update to iOS 18.1 and just know that iOS 18.2 is going to be about a month or so out from now. But anyways, guys, this is one of the longest What's New videos for a point update that I've done in quite some time. So if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up. Also be sure to subscribe for a lot more Apple Intelligence and iOS 18 videos. But anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this one, check out the other 2 videos you see on the screen right now, and I'll see you soon.